about human potential and the power of the mind. Sarah Seads.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
How's that? Good? Thank you. Great. The human body is truly an amazing machine. And we were made to move. Our bodies were designed to bend, to push, to pull, to run and jump and leap and chase. Movement is a primal human experience, and when we move, we feel alive. The human body has evolved to a position where it can tolerate extreme levels of endurance, strength, power, agility, speed, flexibility. And when we move, we feel invigorated, we feel connected. No longer, of course, do we have to chase our next meal, luckily. We move now because it feels good and because it's good for us. Very few people will actually reach the outer limits, those edges of our physical human potential. 99.9% of us won't even come close to that edge. Most of us won't even challenge our current physical abilities. And sadly, many people won't even get off the couch. And these people aren't only missing out on the undisputed health benefits of physical activity, but also on a significant piece of the human experience. So what motivates, what drives some people to challenge themselves physically and push those limits, and not so much with others? Motivation is a very interesting subject. It's also very complex. And these are a couple of the definitions that I like, especially causing or capable of causing motion. Motivation is very dynamic, meaning it's almost in motion. It seems to come and then go, and one minute you have it, and the next minute it's gone. It's sort of elusive. It's hard to put your finger on. But you know when you have it because it fills you up with energy and it propels you forward. And you know when you've lost it because you feel like you've come crashing down and you're almost paralyzed under what feels like the weight of gravity. It's very powerful. It's also very personal. What motivates me may not motivate you, and what motivates you today may not work for you and motivate you tomorrow. There are many factors that contribute to our personal level of motivation. Some of them are within our control and some outside. And genetics may play a component. Some people just seem hardwired with those driven personalities. They seem to be born that way. Our experiences growing up as well can affect our level of motivation. Our self-confidence can affect our perspective of what we are and are not capable of, and that can have an effect on our motivation as well. Those things are out of our control, so we'll leave those aside. More importantly, there are way more things, way more factors that we have control over when it comes to our motivation. There are a ton of tools at our fingertips that we have access to that we can use to boost our motivation. And these are tools that you've probably used before, that I use and that I use with my clients every day. Things like goal setting, accountability, rewards. Some people have mantras or positive affirmations or music to fill them up with energy. Needs assessment and selecting activities that are in line with your values and what's important with you, or choosing activities that fill you up with joy and are fun and make you feel happy. So all of those tools can be very powerful and very strong, and they can move you forward towards your goal. The more the tools you have in your toolbox, the better, and the more personal, the more meaningful they are to you, the more effective they're going to be. And 9 times out of 10, these tools, they're going to get you where you need to go. They're going to motivate you and keep you moving forwards. But what about when the going gets tough? When none of those tools in your toolbox are working and not even your favorite song can pump you up and get you out the door, and you do feel paralyzed and immobilized and just like you cannot take another step and you can't move forward. We've all been there. Everybody experiences periods of low motivation, some more than others. So what do we do then? How do some people keep going and push through that? We need something more powerful. We need a stronger tool. Within each of us is an infinite resource of motivation. One that we can access at any time because it's within each of us. And it's not in our bodies, it's not in our muscles, it's in our mind. In sports psychology, we say that performance is 90% mental. I would argue 99, because it's in our mind that we first decide to begin an activity. And it's in our mind that we decide to continue and move forward and persevere, endure. And then it's in our mind that we first decide to quit. Very rarely will our bodies quit before our minds. And so if this is within us and this tool is there, how can we access it? How can we train the power of the mind? I'm going to tell you. I have the answer. And it's very simple. It's actually pretty easy to do. All you have to do is come up with the answer to one simple question. Can you think what that would be? Why? Why? Why am I doing X? Why do I want to do X? Why do I want to learn how to run? Why am I hiking up this mountain? Why did I get up at 6 a.m. to do push-ups and burpees and hill sprints? Why do I want to live a more active life? And when you ask yourself that question, you better have a really good answer. And initially, we all come up with great answers. Answers like, lose 10 pounds, fit in my wedding dress, look good naked. I've heard all sorts of awesome goals and answers, and really that's what those are. They're goals. And they're very important, they're very powerful. But what we're looking for is something deeper, something more meaningful, something that connects with who you are and what's important to you and what your values are. And you'll know you have the answer, the right answer, when it elicits an emotional response. When you are filled with inspiration and passion, when it lights a fire under your butt and pushes you forward. And when you find that right answer, when you find that answer, you will feel lighter. You'll feel stronger, and like a great wind is pushing you forward. Obstacles will shrink, and opportunities will appear in their place, and you will feel unstoppable. It's very powerful when you can connect with that. So what drives me? I get that question a lot, actually. My own family often asks me, where do you get your motivation from? Where do you get that from? So maybe there is a genetic component. Maybe I was born that way, but I didn't get it from my mom, apparently. She's always surprised. And I've definitely had some great opportunities and experiences where I've had the chance to push my body and my mind and learn more about what I'm capable of, and also what motivates me and what drives me. I first learned the meaning of hard work at the age of 18 when I became a tree planter. And, oh, there's some tree planters up there, maybe? Still to this day, one of the hardest things I've ever done. And it gave me a great perspective of what hard work is, that's for sure. And then I worked for the Forest Service as a Rapattack forest firefighter for 5 years. And what we did there was rappel out of helicopters 300 feet off the ground into remote lightning-caused fires in the Western Canada area and the Yukon. And that was an awesome experience. Definitely a great opportunity to challenge myself. And for 5 years, I had the opportunity to work amongst some of the most amazing people and outstanding athletes I've ever met. And they challenged me and they inspired me to push beyond my preconceived physical and mental limits. So I learned a lot about what I'm capable of there. And then more recently, competing as an endurance athlete in multi-sport events, adventure races, mountain bike races, trail running. And this last summer, I pushed my body and my mind to their new endurance limits when I competed in my first ultra marathon. And for those of you that don't know, an ultra marathon is any foot race longer than 42 kilometers, which is a regular marathon. And so I skipped the marathon distance, I hadn't done one of those yet, and I decided I was going to go for the big one, and I did the 125 kilometer Canadian death race last summer in the Rockies of Alberta. Oh, thank you. Most people think I'm crazy, but I appreciate that. And so I had the opportunity to, particularly in the training for that, to learn a lot about my toolbox, what motivates me, and to use all my tools. And I say more so in the training because in a way, the race is a little bit easier because that's your reward. So when you're training, it can be harder mentally. And then during the race, I had lots of opportunities to ask myself, why are you doing this? 20 hours, 15,000 vertical feet, often in the dark, in the rain, in the mud, and totally by myself for most of it. But luckily, I have some very powerful reasons and some strong answers, and that propels me to move forward. So I'd like to share those with you as it might hopefully inspire you to figure out what your answers are to the question. So I have 3. You might have more than one, and the more the better to keep you moving when you need it. So my first drive, my first answer is to connect with nature. And it's a very powerful one for me. I don't know where it comes from, but for some reason, I feel most at home and most at ease when I'm outdoors. And every day I'm in awe and I'm inspired by Mother Nature. The smells and the sounds and the scenery, they fill me up. And when I'm outdoors, the more beautiful it is, the better. I almost feel like I'm cheating, really, because I feel like I have access to an unlimited resource of energy. So that's a very powerful one for me, connecting with nature. My second reason when I ask, why am I doing this, is to challenge myself, to push my physical and mental limits and find out what I'm capable of and learn more about myself along the way. Figure out who I am, and some people would call that self-actualization. And here in this picture, this is in the death race last summer, and I think this is on the 3rd peak, 7,000 feet, and you couldn't have convinced me at that time that I'd already run 70 kilometers because I was just enjoying the journey. It was so beautiful. My third powerful reason when I ask why I'm doing this is simply because I can. Because I can. What I mean by that is I look at my body and my legs as a gift and not as a given. And a gift that could be gone tomorrow. And I gained this perspective while working as a firefighter in the year 2000 under tragic circumstances. We had returned to base from a fire and got out of the helicopter, and one of our superiors, had come to us with some bad news. One of our crewmates had been badly injured. He had suffered a fall 60 feet off of a cliff, and he broke his back. And he survived, but he was a paraplegic. Al Bergman, he was 25, very competitive, semi-professional mountain and road cyclist. And that day, his life changed completely forever. And in a very small way, ours did too. Mine did, definitely. In that, for the first time in my life, I became aware of my own mortality. I'd never thought of it before. And at that moment I realized that yes, I was made of flesh and blood, and this body was a gift that could be gone tomorrow. My health was a gift. And so when I have that perspective, it changes the concept of suffering and pain. That burning in my legs, or the pain in my chest, or that difficulty, fatigue carrying on, it no longer feels like suffering. It now has become a gift. That feeling of pain and fatigue is truly a gift. It's an opportunity that some people don't have, and that I may not have, and I won't have one day. Life changes, change is part of life, that's part of the deal, and so that's how I look at it. And when I think of it that way, right now I just feel inspired. It's much easier to carry on. So I'd like to finish by telling you the rest of my friend Al's story. After Al's accident, he worked really, really hard in rehabilitation. And 2 years later, he learned how to race a wheelchair. And in 2004, Al went to Athens, Greece, and he competed in the Olympic Games for our country wearing the Canadian flag. He went on, he married his physiotherapist. They just had their first child last year. And he reinvented himself. He went back to school and he learned a trade. He learned how to build bikes. And now he has a successful bike building company, Custom Bikes, in Cobble Hill. Al is truly an inspiration, and one that I draw a lot of strength from. We are not all elite athletes, nor should we try to be. And it's true, we all have, well, most of us have real physical limitations. But even within those limitations, I think we all have so much more room to grow, and we're capable of so much more. And I hope that tonight you leave inspired to challenge yourself and reach towards your personal human potential. Thank you.